Hello everyone, my name's Cat and I'm a druid by label. And this feels very strange to me because normally at a conference I'm standing in front of people or sitting with a group and everyone's looking at me and I'm talking and looking back and able to see everyone's faces. But because of the world situation now, we're all online. So I'm having to imagine you all, wherever you are, just listening by whatever means you can, and I truly am hoping that you're well, because the world's in a crazy place right now. But I'm absolutely so very glad that we have the technology that we do, which means that we can connect in this way. We can have virtual conferences, we can have chats with friends and relatives, we can still remember each other. We're not confined to the post. We're able to give our post service a break so that they're kept safe as well. We're really starting to realise how important our connection is and who is worth connecting with and who isn't. So when I was asked to do a talk for this online conference, I didn't really want to look at anything too morose or too negative because we've got enough of that on the news. But on the other hand, I didn't want to deal with anything too insanely positive because that seems a bit ridiculous right now, to be honest. So the talk that came to my mind and that's been kind of germinating in my head for the past couple of weeks has been the idea of what paganism we think we want versus what paganism we actually need. And yes, I'm absolutely ripping off the Batman movie with that quote. It's the idea that I've seen so many times and people are still saying, which is of having lovely pagan communes where everything's all wonderful and everyone looks after each other and it's self-sufficient and we don't need any normal people and that sort of thing. And you look at the TV adaptations of things like The Mists of Avalon, where you have these wonderful pseudo-Grecian temples on mysterious islands where it never rains, even though the grass is all green. And it's, for example, all women or all men, and these crazy ideals. And part of me understands, it's like, yes, I get it, we want to have places that are safe for us where we can truly be who we are. But on the other hand, we have what we have. We are where we are. And someone once said to me, oh, I wish you'd come and open a pagan shop near me because our town's really grotty and it could really do with one. Whereas I've had other people say, oh, come and open a pagan shop in Glastonbury, you do really well. And I'd rather go to the grotty place because Glastonbury has enough pagan shops. It really does. And we need more paganism in the less New Age places. I'm not sure how you'd put it, but the less obvious places. So my thought is that we can't have any pagan shops right now, and we can't have any communities of ideal paganism because we're all in our houses. We're all in our houses for the sake of each other, and we are all doing so for the sake of our community. And that's no matter what they are or who they are or what beliefs they hold or what labels they give themselves. It doesn't matter because we have had to realise that we're all human beings and we are all susceptible to the same maladies and the same dangers. So we are having to look out for each other. And I'm seeing on the news that that's working well in some places and less in others because some people really can't get over their own sense of entitlement and their own sense of, I want to do this so I should be allowed to. And I think a lot of us, we see that and okay, we get that, but we grew out of that when we left infant school. Stamping your foot and demanding something isn't going to get you anywhere. And right now, what we're having to do is, as I've often said, we as a pagan community are having to grow up, and I nearly swore there, we're having to grow the F up, because it doesn't matter who's proper or who's not. We are all having to look out for each other. And to be fair, what I've seen has been wonderful. There is online conferences, Dave the Bard's doing concerts every so often from his house. There's a steampunk conference going on today, which I will probably pop into later and have a look. Musicians are sharing things from their houses, writers, people are giving what they can. And I apologise if you can hear panting, because what I have is, while I'm sitting here at my desk, is I have a puppy dog who is very happy to be involved in all this, and I can post photos later if you'd like. But we are having to do what we can where we are. And I have a distracting puppy. But we can't be perfect, as I can't now, because things are happening. I've seen news reports where the newsreaders are transmitting from home, from their living rooms, and their children come running in. And it's wonderful, it's fantastic to see, because we can't all, for example, speak in the Queen's English and receive pronunciation and have every hair in place and everything perfect, because the world isn't like that, and especially not now. And what we need right now is to, as I say, grow up. We need to ask ourselves what we're doing, which is my favourite question, of course, and we need to ask ourselves what we can do. I didn't want this to be a rant, and I'm not going to try and turn this into a rant, but I actually watched a very interesting thing this week which ties in with this talk beautifully. This week I have been doing what a lot of people have been doing, which is getting on with my work in between having the company of the television or the audiobook. And I caught myself just thinking, oh, well, I'll have a look at this TV show and see if it's any good, because enough people have recommended it. And I ended up in 2 days watching the whole of American Horror Story, the Coven series. And I went into it thinking, oh Lord, is this going to be like the Craft movie? Is this going to be that sort of Hollywood thing? And to some extent it is. It's good fun, it's entertaining. But I was then listening to a podcast that I liked where they were discussing it. And a lot of people know, the podcast people were saying that one of the things they recognised in the TV show, as in accurate to the pagan community, and the witchy community in particular, is that they never get on. And the head witch is also the head bitch, and there's always infighting, and witchy groups or covens or whatever never last very long because of infighting and ego and so forth. And I was listening to that and thinking, okay, in the context of the TV show, that makes drama, and that's fine, because that's scripted and that's designed to keep people watching. It's not real. But I've known so many pagan groups who've had this happen, whereby someone has decided that they want to be the big all that, and others have not, and they've taken sides, and it's all gone a bit messy. Now, what I'm seeing in the world is that we have to get over such petty things. And watching the TV show made me, and listening to the podcast, made me sort of think, my God, how much like small children is this? How childish is that, such an aspect of the community, that we're still playing playground games in terms of who's got the biggest title, or lineage, or loveliest robe. I don't know what people fight about. But we're human, and we rub up against each other. And another example is in Terry Pratchett, of course, where the witches have contests to see who's best, and everyone agrees that Granny Weatherwax is the best, but they still have the contest anyway, and she doesn't even compete because she doesn't need to. And he satirises it perfectly. It's hilarious. But it is something that makes me sad in the community immensely when I see it, because I want to hope that we are bigger than this. And I think we're now up against the wall in terms of helping each other and finding who we are. And it does not matter whether you call yourself a druid, a witch, a heathen. I don't know. There's so many different names. There is so many different names. And I saw someone have an argument the other week that they didn't want to be controlled by any pagan group, so they weren't going to talk to any members of any pagan groups. And this after I'd messaged them just saying, "Hi, can I help with anything?" And they ran away with throwing argumentative nonsense at me. And I think right now we need to be holding out hands. We need to be sharing what we have, and we need to be recognising what the heathens call the web of weird, because I don't think it's as knotty as it might seem. I think it's just going directions we're not familiar with. And as pagans, as a society that is spread out all over the place, we are still able to communicate, and I have no doubt that you'll be listening to this from any number of places around the world, which is wonderful. And coming together to listen to things like this, I want to plant seeds, because we're in the spring. Let's plant some seeds, let's plant some inspiration. Let's not think, oh God, we're stuck at home, what can we do? And do nothing. I'm not saying do a lot, but I'm asking, my main lesson that is coming out of this is, what can we do? Even if we're tired or worried or in any way stymied and blocked by this vast confusion that's going on. We're off the map. We're into the back of the atlas in the blank pages where the map hasn't been drawn yet. We're in that place of here be dragons, and if anyone should be able to deal with that sort of stuff, it's us, let's face it, because paganism has been finding its own way since day one. And it doesn't matter whether you think the original Wiccan book was passed down for centuries or if it was made up by one guy. It doesn't matter. We are here and we are doing our thing now. And the time has come to get out of the playground. Of course we can play, but let's play it together and let's play nice, because we have to. We have to be there for each other. And if we are like these selfish people who refuse to believe that this situation is real or that they can carry on regardless, then I don't understand how they can call themselves pagan. I really don't. And I know some people will immediately be switching off and I'll get letters or emails or something. But if you have stood up and said, I stand with my ancestors, or I stand with my gods, or I stand on this earth and I reach out, you're reaching out to every other life form on this planet. You're reaching out to your ancestors and you are representing them. You are representing your gods. And if you're standing there doing that while acting like a petty 5-year-old, how rude is that? How dishonourable. What a disservice are you doing? You are standing as a pagan, but you're not acting as one, I would say. Does that make sense? I hope so. I don't want to force anyone to do anything, in the sense of, I know full well everyone has their own individual way of doing what they do and how their belief is coloured, and we're all come together to make our own tapestry. But that's the point. That is the point I'm trying to make. We can come together while retaining our individuality. We do not have to be the most important person in the room or the loudest voice in the room, but we can stand with our skills and our knowledge and our history and our experience. And by that I mean good and bad experience. Lord knows I talk about being nuts often enough. I've been laid up for a good portion of this isolation because I haven't been able to physically do anything. And I feel like I'm letting everyone down because I'm not spending this time writing the great pagan novel or something. If you want that, good luck. I don't think such a thing exists. It might, who knows, it'd be interesting to see. But I think we need to stand up and go, yes, I am me and I am part of this community. My name is Cat and I am part of the pagan community. And I hear you. And I address you. And I hope that you listen as much as I want to hear your stories in return. Because that's why Druidry sings to me. Because my inspiration has always come from stories, from telling stories, from reading stories. Books have been a lifeline to me right now. And I remember back to very difficult school days and hiding in empty classrooms or libraries and just losing myself in another world. And part of me wonders how much that is setting us up for now. We're taking those other worlds and we're making this one what we need it to be. And it isn't an isolated island full of lovely temples. It's perfectly normal houses or flats or who knows. I know people who live on buses and narrowboats. It's wonderful. But that's your space and you're making that your temple. And it doesn't have to be 100% covered in crystals and incense, of course. Part of the magical tools that I often speak about are the kettle and the teapot and the cup. And the ritual of the cup of tea. My big treat to myself when I moved into this house was some wonderful bookshelves, some big floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and they're full. They're so full. But I still miss wandering in bookshops and charity shops and connecting with other stories and connecting with the people who love those stories, who volunteer in such places or who work hard in such places. And this is me. This is my story. This talk is part of my story and part of my life. And this week I've been scared to even speak because I've been in such a bad way. Everything has felt impossible and I feel like I've been letting everyone down by my lack of ability to do anything. But what I've been doing, I guess, is getting my energy together, getting my spoons together. If you don't know spoon theory, look it up. It's fantastic as a way of describing our energy levels. This has all been gestating in my head, and I love the synchronicity that we seem to recognise as pagans. And people say, oh, it's coincidence. No, I don't think I've believed in coincidence for a very long time. Things come together and you notice them in a certain way so that you are able to then present whatever needs to be presented. And in this case, it's this story to you, it's this talk. And it's me saying, we are all coming together with our stories. We are all coming together, even just to chit-chat on social media, to send a little message saying, yes, I'm still here. Hi, how are you? Are you all right? And then listening. And I know how hard that is, because listening without throwing yourself into things and taking over the conversation can be difficult for many people. And talking and perhaps admitting weakness by saying, I feel awful, I feel scared. Or, I don't feel scared, I feel fine. But I feel guilty for feeling fine because so many people aren't. Whatever you feel it. And that's part of your story. That's who you are. And this is the pagan community. And as we can come together, as we mature, I think we will blossom. We have the potential to blossom. We have this spring which is like no other in our lives. I don't think I can think of any circumstance that's been similar to this one, even in the past when there's been similar situations and infections and things. Nobody had the internet at times like that. No one was able to sit in their home office like I'm doing right now, talking into a tiny microphone on an iPad, which in itself looks like a prop from Star Trek. And we're in the 21st century, and we're not coping very well because we got to take too much for granted that we could deal with anything. And that's really, it's not true, is it? We're humans and we're fallible. But that's okay. That's a learning curve. That's part of what we're doing. And so my question is, what does the paganism we need look like? Because you have all of these TV versions, and okay, yeah, they're entertaining, but if someone pisses you off, you're not just going to curse them, cast a spell on them and have them walk in front of a bus, because I think that would probably not go as well as you planned. Also, I hope most pagans aren't like that, but I hope that we can mature enough that we can actually discuss things rather than just throwing rage around or throwing our passions around. And passion is an important thing because it's the power that gets things done. And we have to have that. We have to have our focus and we have to have that oomph. And that's what I've really not had in the past couple of weeks. But because I really wanted to do this and to speak to everyone and to imagine you all out there, which I really am visualising right now, I said to Steffi, organising this, that I didn't want to let him down or let you all down. So here I am. And what I'm doing is showing up and talking. And I've had people say, oh, that's nothing really, isn't it? You just turn up and talk. It doesn't take much energy. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot to do this. I am terrified of public speaking. I've said it often. But when I see everyone's lovely faces all smiling and people looking encouraging, it helps so much. And I don't have that right now. I have 2 snoozy puppy dogs and a pile of laundry. They're not giving me a great deal of feedback. We are having to make our own worlds. We are having to make our own groups and gatherings. We are having to make our own temples and places of peace. We're having to make our own places of healing. And whether that's your bedroom, your kitchen, your office, your living room, your garden if you have one, you are having to craft your space. And then you're having to reach out to other people in their space. Because if we don't, we will truly become isolated, and that way lies a very dark path. We can take time for ourselves by all means. I absolutely endorse that. But if you get to the way of thinking that your way is the only way and your way is the one right way, and you're going to head out to the shops and just go crazy, and I don't know how to describe what I see on the news of some places. Some people do not care. I think as a community we care. I think we came to paganism because we want to see what's true in us and we want to see what's true in others. And to do that we need to care. We cannot just disregard other people. We have to listen. And yep, sometimes we might not agree, but then we can debate and we can talk and we can allow ourselves perhaps to be changed and allow ourselves to be wrong or allow ourselves to be guided in a new direction as suddenly someone says something and you think, oh my goodness, that's something I've been missing all this time. Oh, how stupid am I? Which is quite fun. And it's not saying, oh, I am wrong, I'm the worst thing in the world, oh, I should never do anything ever again. That's the voice of my depression, and that's the sort of crap that it comes out with. There is always someone who is being worse than you, just as there is always probably someone who is being better than you, but there is no one else who is being you. And I try and tell myself this. This is Dr. Seuss. There is no one alive who is youer than you, which is wonderful. And we come together and we are making this tapestry of paganism in the 21st century. And it looked a certain way in the 1950s, then the 60s, 70s, 80s. We came out more, people became interested, more people discovered what was going on. We now have generational paganism, we have families, and we have brand new folks. But it's all good. No one should be sneering at another because they don't know something. We should be saying, okay, all right, have you tried this? Do you want to come along? Come on, I'll show you. Or, I don't know about that, but I know someone who does. Let's go and find them. Because no matter what, there will be people who know what you need to know. And you will, if you face yourself right, in the right direction, you'll be able to find them. If you put your intention out there, you'll find what you need. Because that's magic, isn't it? That's spell work. You put your intention into the world with that passion and focus that I mentioned. And keep your eyes open, both eyes as often as you can spare them. And you step forward. And sometimes that doesn't mean physically stepping, that means journeying, that means surfing the web, why not? But that means being able to hold on to yourself through it all. When people do shamanic journeys, you still have to hold on to yourself or you'll get lost. And Lord knows the internet is like that in its weirder places. But know who you are, know how flexible you are, know what you would like to know, and allow yourself to be carried. Because I think I've spoken about this situation as we're riding the waves of this. We don't know what the next wave is going to bring, and we don't know where dry land is. But we're all here together, separate but together. And that is the power of our community. And that is what I love about our community. And I don't want to see us be known for who's the biggest bitch, or who's the biggest ego, or who's got the most titles, or that's not important. If anyone says they know everything about something, they really don't, because nobody does. And how boring would it be if you knew everything about something? You can be an expert on something, of course, but there will always be something more to learn, because there'll be other people who have other experiences which you haven't had. And there's experiences you've had which other people haven't had, so people will come and ask you questions. And that's fine, that's wonderful. And deal with that gracefully and honourably. Don't think that makes you a guru, I suppose. I'm not going down that path, it's very, very strange. But know that we're all coming together. We can. We can fall down, we can get up. I do this every day. And yet I'm sitting here and I'm looking out and I see the buds on the trees which have become leaves in the last few days. I hear the birds in the sky. There's blackbirds which like to nest on next door's chimney pot. I see a field of dandelions which would drive my mother crazy and she'd want to get out there and mow them all down, but I see the bees enjoying them. And this is just within my line of sight right now. So, as we're not all sitting together, I ask, look around right now, look around where you are, and know it's your space, and know you can change it if you want to. You can make it better, you can clean it if it needs it. If it doesn't, then don't. If it's a bit crazy and chaotic because of working from home or schooling from home, then that's okay. it's true that someday in the future we'll look back on this in the same way that I look back and remember power outages and teachers' strikes back during Margaret Thatcher's time. And I didn't really understand it, but I enjoyed the time at home and that was fine, and I read books. But we didn't have the internet and all the rest of it. But we have what we have around us right now. And what can you do with that? You have your own mind, you have your own thoughts and ideas, you have access to so much information, and you have access to the tales from other people, even if those other people are those you never really expect you'd talk to, you know? Have a wander around the live streams on YouTube, because there's so many different things going on. Have a look on the Twitch app, which is primarily for gaming people to stream themselves playing games. But there's some people, more and more I've noticed, who are playing that wonderful game Just Chatting. And it's a person sitting at their desk videoing themselves talking and other people engaging. And this is how we're doing it right now. It won't be forever. Nothing is. But I'm still able to reach out to you, same as you're able to reach out to me. And what can we do during this time? What can we do to set things for the future so that we don't lapse back into where we were before? A lot of people are saying that. What do we want? We need to dream about that ideal paganism, but in the real world, in the world that is going to be when this is done. We are going to have to craft that. And as I say, it's not only what are you doing, but it's what can you do. And every single one of us can do something. Everyone. I've had people say, oh, I'm not creative, I have no... No, I don't believe it. I really don't believe it. Everyone has something creative in them. Even certain people who have a lot of opinions on stuff at this time can create bullshit. Naming no presidents. But, or prime ministers for that matter. Who doesn't say a lot these days. But it's funny how we're realising the societies we've set up to look after us are really not very good at it. So who do we turn to instead? We're turning to each other. We are turning to each other in this time. And that's fine. That's really good. It's a good sign for the future. So, what paganism would you like ideally? But then what would you like actually, really? And how can we make that happen? That's my question. So, how do you do your paganism? And with that, I'll leave you for now. If you want me, I'm online. I'm on most of the social medias. But go and make the magical cup of tea ritual, or what drink of your choice, and know that I'm here imagining all of you. And I wish I could hug you. I really, really do. But soon enough, I'll see you in person at another conference. And the hugs are going to be amazing. Take care of yourselves, people. And reach out if you need to. Thank you.